The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, my name is Jillian Schaefer and I'm the Marketing Coordinator for SWK Technologies. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar, What's New in Sage 100, presented by Monica Byrne of SWK Technologies. A little housekeeping before we get started. Everyone has been placed on mute to keep the background noise down. However, you can submit any questions you have throughout the webinar. To submit a question, look for the questions section in your GoToWebinar. We'll answer all questions at the end of the presentation. We are recording this presentation and it will be distributed tomorrow to all attendees as well as to those who registered but were not able to attend. Please take a moment after the presentation to answer our one survey question. With that said, we appreciate you taking time out of your busy day to attend our webinar. We're here to help you get the most out of your software solutions and help you find an easier way to run your business by providing you software and industry knowledge, tools, and support whenever you need it. So whether you're here doing research for a new solution or you're just here to learn, we'd like to encourage you to ask any questions throughout the webinar. Lastly, as a quick reminder, SWK is constantly sharing important updates and software tips and tricks on our social media channels. So we encourage you to follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Monica.
Thanks, Jolene. Let me just share my screen here. Okay, so as Jolene mentioned, my name is Monica Byrne. I'm a senior consultant here at SWK Technologies. I've been working with the Sage 100 product for many years, and I'm going to talk to you today about what's new in Sage 100. And this webinar is going to be focused on version 2021, some of the new features there. So as our agenda today, we're going to talk about the different enhancements throughout the product from Sage. They've been focusing on enhancing the product now that they have been, they finished rewriting all of the modules. So we'll see global enhancements, AP and AR, you see POs, SO, inventory, etc. And we're going to go through all of those. And then at the end, we'll have a question area. I'm also going to discuss a little bit about the upgrade process and our upgrade plan, how you can move forward with an upgrade. So let's get started. For further information on any of the features I'm covering today, you can feel free to reach out to myself, your Sage 100 consultant, your customer account manager, basically any contact you have here at SWK. You could always reach out and ask questions or get directed where you need to be. So the first global enhancement here is a company type dropdown has been added in Library Master Main Company Maintenance. This dropdown has 4 options: Live, Archive, Demo, and Test. This allows users in your Sage 100 consultant to clearly see the purpose of each company. And to enhance the functionality, there's an option in System Configuration to display the company type in the window title bar throughout Sage 100, as seen on the bottom right of this screen. So you can see where it says Customer Maintenance, that's what I'm in, ABC, and it's a demo company, -demo. And you'll see that it says the screen shown there, display company title in window title bar. You can have it for all of those companies, demo, test, archive, live, or you could choose which ones you would like to have. There's a new security menu in Library Master. The role and user maintenance tasks have been moved to it from the main folder. So you'll see that right there on the left-hand side. Additionally, a role user inquiry and import export roles and administrative tools tasks have been added. The role user inquiry, import roles, export roles are available to Sage 100C subscription customers only. If you have any questions on what kind of subscription plan, if you're on a perpetual licensing or subscription licensing with Sage 100, to see if you would be able to have this or any of the other features that I mentioned throughout the webinar, you can speak to your customer account manager or consultant to find that out. But this one is available to Sage 100 subscription users only. Also, for those customers who have wanted to prevent users from accidentally copying over a company using the copy feature in Library Master Main Company Maintenance, there is a new security checkbox to allow or disallow overwriting live or archive companies based on the company type setting discussed on the last slide. It's located in Role Maintenance on the Security Options tab under Library Master. With this feature unchecked, Users could copy to a test company or demo company, but could not copy to a company with a company type of live or archived. So we have had clients in the past who have copied over their data inadvertently, copied a test company to their live data inadvertently. Obviously, that can cause a lot of problems, especially if the test company is outdated, and this feature will prevent that from happening so that you can uncheck that. You would probably want to uncheck that for all roles so that people can't copy over any live or archived companies. And typically, archived companies are copies of your company at a point in time that you're looking to save as it is. And that's why that's included with that feature as well. Here's the administrative tools option that's now available in the new security menu. This is where administrators of the system can view or change settings. This menu actually was available previously, but we would have to log out of Sage 100 and back in with the administrator login to access it. Also note that when you select this task from the menu, you're still required to use the administrator login to gain entry. So not just anyone could enter into this administrative tools area. We use it a lot as Sage 100 consultants, and you may use it occasionally too. You can, go into role maintenance from here, user maintenance from here, some different features that you may or may not end up using. Okay, additional role maintenance changes. So a role type has been added to role maintenance to make navigating, creating, and using roles easier. So you'll see that on the left-hand side there, I have it circled. The options are admin, there's a lot of them, admin, auditor, clerk, employee, executive, IT, manager, sales, service, warehouse, other, and converted. During an upgrade, a type of converted will be assigned until a type can be selected. On the right-hand side of role maintenance, a filter button has been added to further refine results when trying to find or manage a specific security setting. So you'll see I pointed to that filter button. It looks like a black, filter. And the screen that pops up is highlighted there, pointed to filter role settings. So you could actually go through and ask it to filter and only show you certain role settings so that you could manage those. Also note on the screenshot on the left, the security events tab and the module options tab and role maintenance have been combined into one tab called security options. So you'll see here we have tasks and security options. It's really nice because I know I've spent a lot of time trying to figure out if something was on the module options and security events tab, and now there's just one tab to go through. So I'm going to briefly show you Sage 100 because I want to show you a couple of the sorting and filtering tools that are easier to see in Sage 100. So let me go there. So this is version 2021, and this is the new security tab, and I'm going to go into role maintenance just so that I can show you some of those filters that are available. So I'm going to select a role I have here, and we'll select the AP clerk. So you'll see on the tasks tab, you can now sort this task tab either alphabetical, like it is now, or default menu order. So this default menu order follows the menu order of Sage 100. So you can sort those either way. Additionally, on the security options tab, the default is sort by module, and this is how it has been set up. It'll tell you all the security options by module, but you can also group those security options now. So when you're looking for specific security options, if you expand accounts payable, you'll see now everything related to batches is under the batches group. Everything related to data entry is under the data entry group, and so forth. So it'll help you find those security features that you're looking for. Sometimes they can be obscure and a little difficult to find. So this kind of helps you find those as you go forward. And then there's also security options. So this just basically sorts them all into one long list. Another thing I wanted to note over here is there's these two buttons on the right-hand side, so you can use those to expand the tasks or collapse the tasks as well. Role templates have been added in this version 2021 too, which is really nice. Sage has given you a bunch of role templates. So if you do a lookup here on using the flashlight in role maintenance, you can see all the templates. There's 36 of them provided by Sage. So if one of those is appealing to you, like let's say an AR clerk, you might be able to use that as a basis for your role for your AR clerk. And how you would do that, if I selected this now in role maintenance, you'll see at the top in red it says role template. That'll tell me that I'm actually looking at the template for the role. So this is not an actual role. I'm just searching, I'm looking through the template and seeing what's allowed with this role. So you'll see here I expanded accounts receivable, and data entry is allowed on the security options tab. And then also over here, you'll see access to everything in the main folder, access to certain reports, access to certain setup items. So this is kind of a standard AR clerk role that you could expand on, because of course, once we create this role, you could then modify it in any way that you would like. So I'm looking at the role template now, and I'm going to say okay, and I'm actually going to create my AR clerk role from that template. So I'm just going to type in the role, type in my description, and I can assign the role type if I prefer. So I would probably choose clerk for this. And then up at the top right, there's the copy button here. So that copy button then will allow you to choose the role template. So you can now copy from either the role template or an existing role. Previously, you could just copy from an existing role. So I'm going to go into my role templates, and I'm going to say, okay, I'm going to use the AR clerk role as the basis for this role. And do I want to copy the tasks and security options? I do. So I'm going to say okay. And now I've created my AR clerk role, and it has all the security settings from the template. So from here, I could adjust it if I wanted to, save it if I think it's just fine. A lot of times we recommend saving these roles or allowing the user to use the role to see if, and then let you know if there's anything further that they need access to. We try to say, you know, err on the side of caution, give them less access rather than more, and then you can always adjust that as they let you know that they need the adjustment. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint then, here. And finally, on the right-hand side, you'll see that there's also a report available to review those roles, to review those role templates. And you would access that by going to the role report and choosing the type of report to print as role template details. And then you can actually choose the role names if you just wanted to look at one, or if you want to look at all of them, whichever makes most sense for you. Also, an apply button has been added to the role maintenance, so that when you change roles, you can apply those same changes to other roles. So you'll see I clicked on the apply button up here, and when you click that apply button, you can actually apply it to other roles. It'll come up and ask you what users to assign that change to. So see assign users to that role. So you can apply changes that you make. So for example, if you wanted to make sure no users had access to AP options, you would uncheck it on one role, click apply, and you can apply that same change to all other roles. You could also, another example would be broadcast messaging. So there's a way in the system to broadcast messages to users. And a lot of times as a consultant, I find that's turned off for some users. So that might be another use, to turn on that broadcast messages for all users. Finally, there are assign and remove buttons available in role maintenance as well. This allows you to easily assign a role to a user or remove a role from a user with the click of a button. So you'll see here, you can see this role test, who it's assigned to, what company, and I can actually remove that if I wanted to. Or I could add users if I wanted to as well. At this time, I only have one user in the system. That's why there's no users listed on the left-hand side of this screen. But if you had multiple users, they would all be listed there, and you could assign them easily. Previously, you would have to go into user maintenance to assign that role. And now you can do that right there. So if you're doing a bunch of them, it'll make it easier for you. A default form maintenance task has been added to the Library Master setup menu. This allows you to maintain by company, role, or even user the form code to use when printing various forms, such as AP checks or SO invoices in the system. Additionally, when copying a company and company maintenance, you now have the option to copy form and report settings. So you'll see here on the right-hand side, I can go ahead and assign by user. I'm actually doing it by role in this case, my all access role, and I'm saying, okay, accounts payable check printing, use the standard form code. So you could do it by user, down to the user level. For example, if you have accounts payable clerks who are writing checks out of multiple bank accounts and they're each responsible for one bank account or something along those lines, they could each have the appropriate form code that you have set up for that check assigned to them in this default form maintenance. A couple other global items that have changed. You can select a company type when running the build search index now. That's the screen on the left-hand side. That is located in Library Master Utilities. This saves time by only running the utility for those company types that are needed. So the build search index is the utility that populates the search results for Sage's autocomplete feature, like in General Ledger when you can type in the account description to find it, or AP, you can type in the vendor name and it'll pop up. This build search index utility populates all of that information. And right now, based on the company type that you chose in company maintenance, you can choose how you want that build search index to populate. They can take a little while to run. Let's say you have a lot of customers, vendors, items, etc. They can take a while to run, so it would be helpful to run it just for the live company, I think. Additionally, in company maintenance, we have options now for the authentication methods for the email configuration for Paperless Office. And our choices now are basic or OAuth. Previously, we didn't have an option for authentication methods. Sage 100 can now be installed in a 64-bit version as well. It's important to note that if there are other 32-bit versions of Sage 100 installed, installing the 64-bit will make those no longer work properly. And then because of that, during the upgrade process, you may be working in your current version and testing the new version. So we wouldn't install the 64-bit version, we would just install the 32-bit version at the time of test upgrade. And then Sage has also provided a utility to convert it from a 32-bit to a 64-bit application at a later time if desired. Also, Paya, which is Sage's payment processor for credit cards, has rebranded some of its items and retired the Payment Center website and replaced it with a Paya Exchange website. So labels within Sage 100 referring to such have been changed. Microsoft Edge is now used as the embedded browser in Sage 100. So previously it was IE, and they've switched it to Microsoft Edge, updated it. And for those of you using our visual process flows in Sage 100, they're now based on HTML5 instead of Adobe Flash due to the retirement of Adobe Flash. Oh, finally, the last of the global enhancements. If you're interested or using any of the Office 365 integration, a new task called self-service invitations has been added to the Office 365 integration menu in the Library Master module. So customers using the 365 integration can use this to send invitations to employees so they can start using the employee self-service features related to the payroll module. So if you're using payroll and you have employees using any of the self-service features, this would basically send an invitation for them to set up their account to access their employee information. All right, moving on to accounts payable, let's talk about what has happened there. So Form 1099 NEC is now accommodated in the embedded 1099 reporting by choosing a default form called non-employee compensation. So this is related to the changes that the government made in 1099 reporting, requiring you to file a non-employee compensation form rather than just the 1099 miscellaneous. This was available in a few prior versions at the beginning of this year by applying an update. So we would have to apply a service update in previous versions, but it's now part of the ongoing program in Sage 100 version 2021. Also, on the right-hand side, we have a new utility in AP. If you've ever had the experience of an invoice showing paid when trying to select it for payment, a utility to handle that has been added to the Sage 100 Utilities menu in the Run Program window. So basically, you choose File, Run, and type in *UTL to access this menu that's shown here. And the one circled is the new one, AR Open Invoice Payments Today utility. And that would clear those Paid Today flags. so that it would then be available for selection. I do recommend, if you think you might need to use this for the first time, talk to your Sage 100 consultant here at SWK. There are some things that you should be aware of before you run any of these utilities. And one of the ones with I just realized I'm on the AR open invoice, but it's actually the AP open invoice payments today utility. Anyway, I would talk to your Sage 100 consultant about it, because, for instance, you shouldn't have any checks in process. Things unposted in some utilities would not be good. So you might want to talk to your Sage 100 consultant before using any utility like that, at least for the first time. All right, so moving on to accounts receivable and sales order. Oh, sorry. Not cooperating. When creating a credit memo in accounts receivable or sales order, you have the option to recall the item cost from history or use the current cost, and that's new in Sage 100 version 2021. When entering a customer and invoice combination, you'll be prompted to copy information from invoice history. So you'll see that prompt on the left-hand side there. If you select yes, you will then see another prompt to recall the item cost from history. So it'll ask you, do you want to recall that item cost from history? And you can say yes. You can say no to use the current cost, or you can click details, and then you can view side by side the cost from history and the current cost for each item on the invoice. So it's kind of a nice little tool, and it'll help you make an informed decision about that. Additionally, in daily sales reports and updates, you can now suppress the prompts that ask you to print various reports. So if you have a bunch of the reports in the bottom screenshot selected, the recaps, a lot of time, all of them will prompt you to print them. Do you want to print the daily sales recaps report? Do you want to print the recap by item? So there's an extra prompt each time. You can now select this option in sales order options, automatically print all additional reports that apply. If you check that, the reports will then print successively without interruption or user intervention. And obviously that option is located right here in sales order options on the printing tab. Okay, we do have a minor change or two in inventory. So what you're seeing here is an item maintenance screen, and you're looking at the transactions tab. And you'll notice that I have a range of transactions listed here. Previously, in the prior version, prior to 2021, when you go into here, all of your transaction dates for the current period that you're in Sage 100 would show up. So let's say 2020 was still open. All of the transactions for 2020, for the current month of 2020 that you're in, would show up in this area. Typically, that's not helpful for users. They want to see a specific date range, and they always have to change that to see what they're looking for. So you can now select a default date range for the transactions tab here. This feature is available for Sage 100C subscription users only. This is set in inventory options on the additional tab, and the available choices are current, calendar year, current period, last 7, 30, 60, 90, 120, or 365 days. So you do have to choose as a company, because this is for every user as it's set in the options, what you want to see in that transactions area. But it does help you if you can decide on a period to look at. It does help you so that you only get the information that you want to see. And then it'll also print that range in item maintenance to show you what range it's looking at based on those settings in inventory management options. Of course, once you're here and you see all of this, if you need to go to a different period, you can click the binoculars over on the right-hand side and change it again. But if you could get it to, how you would normally use it, it'll save a lot of clicks in trying to get the transactions that you want to look at. Purchase order. So we do have a couple purchase order enhancements. The purchases clearing from history report has been added to the purchase order period end processing menu for use after running period end processing, so that you can reconcile that purchases clearing account using the historical information, which is usually what is going to tie to your general ledger. So this will use the historical information and simplify the reconciliation process. Additionally, when viewing a receipt of invoice record and receipt history inquiry, the invoice lines now appear on the Lines tab. So previously they didn't. In receipt history inquiry, you wouldn't see the lines like you see on the left-hand side, and now you do. The line details are also available on the receipt history report now, so you can choose to see the details when you run the standard receipt history report. Also, a receipt history inquiry and invoice history inquiry button has been added to the Totals tab of purchase order entry so that you have quick access to further information about those receipts. So you could click on those down arrows, the green down arrows that I'm pointing to in the slide on the right-hand side, and you could go ahead and go into the receipt history or the invoice history directly from there. Nice feature. I think it'll save some time. Also, we have some changes in Paperless Office. So a Paperless Office default delivery option item has been added to the setup menu. So with this, you can define what email addresses to send to for each document, rather than by individual vendor or customer. So previously, let's say you were sending sales order confirmations to customers. You would have to go into each customer, choose the sales order confirmation, or click the paperless button first, then choose the sales order confirmation or sales order form. And then you would have to say, do I want to print? Do I want to email? What email address do I want it to go to? Now you can determine those settings as a whole here. Essentially, it's like defaults. So you can determine those settings here. And then when you send paperless to your customers or set that customer up for paperless, those will be the defaults that come in. And then, of course, at that time, you could change those if a customer or vendor or whomever needs to be treated a little bit differently. You can always change that at that time, but this will allow for those defaults to be set. A customer electronic delivery inquiry and vendor electronic delivery inquiry task has been added to the Paperless Office main menu. So we get a lot of questions about how to trace emails that may or may not have sent, specifically the ones that may not have been sent. So you can use these tasks to view a list of documents that have been sent to customers and vendors. This feature is also available for Sage 100C subscription customers only. Notice you can sort by the status of successful or unsuccessful. That's in the top right. So you could go ahead and look. You can even obviously select specific customers. If a customer calls and said, I didn't get my invoice, you could actually look it up in here by customer and see if it was successful or not successful. You could also use this to troubleshoot. If you think you've had any issues, you could check and see if everything went through successfully, look at all of your customers, maybe by a date range. So it gives you a lot of tools to kind of see what has gone on in that Paperless Office system. Also, in the vendor viewer and customer viewer in Paperless Office, forms are no longer flagged as updated when they're printed as PDFs but not electronically delivered due to an interruption. So previously, as long as they were printed to PDF, they would be flagged as updated, so basically sent. But now they won't do that if the electronic delivery was interrupted for some reason. Of course, all of these features are designed to help you track items that were not delivered as expected, or also, like I said, to check if a customer says they didn't receive something. When sending forms to customers, you can also send them to all salespeople who are receiving a commission on the sale. To enable this feature, you would select the Email Additional Salesperson checkbox that has been added to the Paperless Office Delivery Options window, and you access that through Salesperson Maintenance. You can enable the feature for statements, sales orders, or sales order invoices. So a lot of our clients have asked for this for quite some time. When you are emailing something, can we just copy the salesperson? And we used to have to add the salesperson in to the Paperless Office setup as an other email. And now we can actually just click this checkbox and allow that to be sent automatically. It's also important to mention when associating documents with journals and registers, you're no longer limited to PDF files. So if you are associating any documents in Paperless Office, you're no longer limited to just PDF files. They could be a picture file, a JPEG, or a GIF, or something like that. There has been one change in Visual Integrator for those users that use Visual Integrator. It is a nice one. A new Visual Integrator options screen has been added. You can now manage the logs. So the logs are the details of your import or export routine. They're probably more important on the import side, but the log tells you what happened, what records failed, those kinds of things. And you can now manage if logs are reused or a new log file is created each time. You can also specify where the log file should be saved. This is helpful if you need to refer back to the logs from previous imports, as you can prevent them from being overwritten. So right now, Visual Integrator reuses the log, so each time you run the job, the log is written over. So sometimes if you needed to go back and see, maybe there was a problem with invoices that were imported last week, you couldn't go back and look at the log and see if it imported okay. But now with this change, you could actually save them as separate files each time you use the job, and then you could refer back to them if needed. So I wanted to talk a little bit today about the upgrade process and paths now that we've gone through all the new features of Sage 100 version 2021. I'm assuming some of you may be wondering what the upgrade process is, what kind of path do we have for you to get there, how it all works for our clients here at SWK. So I wanted to go through that a little bit in case now that you've seen all the great new features, you're interested in upgrading. So let's talk a little bit about the process. For most of our upgrades, we're going to include a test upgrade and a live upgrade. So that means we'll have a testing phase before we go live on the new version. We do that because we like to give users the opportunity to test everything in the new system prior to going live. So we find this makes go live days much smoother and less stressful for everyone. Ideally, we want to work out all the problems in advance of going live so that go live is really kind of seamless or a non-event. Additionally, we do have ways to minimize downtime for companies, such as converting data during evening hours, etc. So when you start the upgrade process, you can discuss this with your consultant. And our upgrade processes range depending on your system. We have some upgrade processes that, the test upgrade can be installed in a couple days. You could go live in a week or two if you wanted. There are some that have a lot of enhancements and such that may take longer. And you can talk to your consultant about that and figure out exactly what it'll be for you. But we always kind of lay that out for you so that you have an idea of time frame and such. Additionally, upgrading more frequently saves you time and money. I know it seems counterintuitive, but it really does. We found that upgrading more frequently definitely saves time and money. For example, if you're on a version below 4.5 right now, we cannot just upgrade you to the current version of Sage 100. It will require us to upgrade you in steps, meaning we're going to have to install a couple versions of the software, and then we're going to have to do a couple data migrations and conversions to get you to the latest version of the software. So the more time that lapses between your current version and the newest version of Sage 100, you risk that multiple step process, which you can tell would cost more money, of course, cost more consulting hours for us to do multiple installs, multiple data migrations, and multiple conversions. We also find that the more versions between your version and the current version of Sage 100 increases our potential to have data conversion problems. So of course, if we start converting your data and it doesn't convert right, or we run into an error, we see that happen more on these upgrades that have big spans from an old, 5 versions between the old version and the new version or something. So that also will increase that time needed to perform the upgrade. With that being said, do you have to upgrade to every version? Like, do you have to go each version? Not necessarily. We do realize for some clients that it's not feasible. However, it's typically helpful to review the new features as the versions come out. Sage always produces documents. We produce documents showing what the new features are, or a webinar such as this. And you can see if there's anything of interest to you to see if that particular upgrade is worth the time and effort to do so. We do recommend to make sure to be only 1 or 2 versions behind if possible, because of course that's going to save you time like we talked about before. So customizations and third-party products. We get a lot of questions about that related to upgrades, so I wanted to touch on that with you. If you're on version 4.5 or later, most of your customizations will convert to the new version. So for prior versions, we have a little extra work to do to replace them. So it takes a little more time, which kind of goes back to our previous point about keeping current. And then when referring to third-party products, we mean software you have added onto your system that works with Sage 100. A few examples would be FYI Soft for financial reporting, ScanCo software for scanning, Starship software for shipping via common carriers. All of those are third-party add-ons, we call them frequently. We'll typically coordinate the upgrade of these products along with your Sage 100 upgrades. So we usually handle the legwork and management of the project, including those. We'll work as a liaison between you and the third-party software vendor, if you want that to happen, of course, if desired. And if there are any issues during upgrade, testing, et cetera, we can work with the third-party provider to help resolve those with you. For any other specific software that you have, add-ons, feel free to ask your customer account manager or consultant how they will be handled during the upgrade process, and they can detail that for you. There are some exceptions, of course, to what I was just saying, but most of the time we try to handle those for you. So you've decided you'd like to explore the upgrade process. How do you get started? You would let someone here at SWK know. So it can be through this webinar, you can contact your customer account manager, or even the consultant that you work with on a regular basis. However you let us know, the process is the same. You'll receive some communications from your project coordinator. Our project coordinators here do exactly what their title says. They kind of coordinate the projects. So they can walk you through the process from saying, I want to upgrade, through the proposal. They're also there if you have any troubles or issues during your upgrade. You could always reach out to them. Let's say you couldn't reach a consultant for some reason and you need an answer. They kind of coordinate all of that communication internally and externally. So you're going to receive some communications from your project coordinator initially. They're going to make sure you know server and workstation specifications required for the new version. And they'll also assign a consultant to do what we call an upgrade checklist. So this simply means that the consultant will schedule time to connect with you and review your Sage 100 environment. When we do that, we're looking for key things like file sizes, what components you use in the system, like what features you use, any third-party products you have or customizations, and so forth. So from that checklist, once we do that, once you have the appointment with your consultant and we do the checklist, we provide you a detailed proposal for your upgrade. Obviously, you'll get that proposal, you'll review it. Once you sign that proposal, your consultant will coordinate the schedule with you, and you'll be on your way to taking advantage of all the new features that we've highlighted today. So, thank you for coming and visiting with us and hearing the information. If you have any questions now, I think Jolene is going to take back over and give me any questions, and I'll do my best to answer them.
Thanks, Monica. We'll now open it up for questions. If you have any questions, please enter them into the questions section of GoToWebinar. And just a reminder, everyone, we do have a subject matter expert here. This is a great opportunity to have your questions answered in real time. And we did have one question come in during the webinar, Monica. It says, we recently upgraded and I'm trying to figure out how to get the zeros to stop printing in the GL reports. Prior to the upgrade, the zeros didn't print. Thank you.
So that sounds like the reports had been customized. There is a way in Crystal Reports. So all of the Sage 100 standard reports are written in Crystal Reports. And there is a way inside of each report that you can turn off those zeros from printing. There's no feature in Sage 100 to turn those zeros on or off, like a setting. So it's actually, so what I'm guessing is you had a previous customization that did that and we didn't realize that it was there. It may have been done on the standard report setting. And if it was done on the standard report setting, those changes are not retained during an upgrade. So it would have to probably be copied back in. So I would talk to your consultant that did your upgrade because they may be able to just copy back in the one that was modified before so you don't have zeros, or you could, or they could modify it so that they don't have zeros any longer.
And we have another. Is a new version of Crystal Reports upgraded with the version change? Our company has had issues with reports merging together when more than one person is printing or posting together. This issue has existed for many versions. Has this problem been fixed yet?
So that, I have not seen that specific issue before, but I'm not sure what version you're on to let you know, but with probably the last 3 versions, Crystal, I think it's version 2016, has shipped with it. So there has been an update to the version of Crystal depending on what version you're coming from into.
Perfect, and that looks like all the questions we have, so give me 1 minute as I take back screen control. Perfect. Thank you so much, Monica, for your informative presentation and for taking the time to be here today. And thank you everyone for attending our webinar. Have a wonderful rest of your day.
Thank you.